Okay, so this is just a little short video on lab safety and expectations in the lab. So watch this, make sure that by the end you've got a good handle on basic policies and procedures, okay? So anyway, let me get everything set. Okay, so just general safety rules. Number one, if I give you a lab prep, read it before you get to class to do the lab. So we want to make sure that you know what's going on before it comes time to actually do the lab, okay? Anytime we're in the lab, we wear safety goggles. We want to keep chemicals out of your eyes. We want to, keep hot materials. So like if the glass shatters out of your eyes, we want to protect your vision at all costs. If something happens, if there's a spill, if there's an accident, a cut, let me know. Tell me about it. I'm not gonna be mad. I need to make sure that safety is, maintained. So, kind of with this general safety rule, something that's not in here that obviously with the COVID-19 situation, we're also going to add. Anytime we're in the lab, we're obviously not 6 feet apart, so we have to have our masks on as well, okay? Now, anytime we finish the lab, make sure you wash your hands with soap and water, all right? Do not eat anything before you've washed your hands after doing the lab. Make sure you don't touch your face. We'll be wearing masks, so that will help, all right? But, keep your hands off your face, out of your nose, out of your mouth, out of your eyes, as much as possible there. If you have long hair, like I do, make sure you tie it back, okay? If we're using fire or something like that, if we're stirring stuff, you'll all get a good chuckle, but, I'll put my beard in a hair tie and usually put it in a shirt and kind of zip it up like that, all right? We want to keep our hair, okay, out of our chemicals, okay? If you have long sleeves on, roll them up. My general rule is don't wear, loose clothing in the lab. So make sure that, when I give you a heads up, hey, we got a lab, next 2 days or whatever, don't wear your favorite puffy pirate shirt, okay? No loose sleeves, all right? When you're in the classroom, we'll point these things out, but make sure you know where the fire extinguishers are. They're on the ends of both lab benches. The fire blanket, it's on the right wall in a big red box that says fire blanket. The eye wash station is in the very back under the big yellow shower, and the first aid kit is right here in my desk, okay? When you're working in the lab, make sure you keep the area uncluttered. Only take things to the lab station that you need. Only take things out of lab drawers that you're using, okay? If you can, wear glasses. Don't wear contact lenses. For the experiments that we do, that's not a big deal. But if you are concerned about your contact lenses, just let me know and I'll give you a heads up as to whether that's a big deal or not for the specific lab. We don't eat things in the lab. We don't eat things in the lab environment. So because of social distancing, some of your desks are in the lab. The lab is defined as anywhere past the sinks in my classroom. So we don't eat in the lab. So if you're sitting on a desk back there, you can't eat, all right? When you're done, clean up. That means wash your glassware, wash anything you use, and hang it up on the drying rack to dry. It doesn't mean stack everything by the sink because the good fairy will clean it up. Fairies aren't real. Definitely not a good fairy that cleans up things. So clean up after yourself. Obviously, we don't horse around or play jokes on each other in the lab. Be mature enough to do the labs that we're going to do. When it comes to glassware, we use a lot of glassware in chemistry. Make sure you're not using something that's chipped, okay, especially if you're heating it. So like this is a very minor chip you can see in the edge of this glass, but in this beaker, we would not want to heat something with that. It could split right down the side. Do not throw broken glassware away, though. Let me have it. Like this particular one, I didn't throw it away. I still use it. I just don't I keep it in a place where we don't heat. We don't use this glass for heat. So if it's broken or chipped too much to be salvaged, then I do actually have a glass disposal area, okay? When you pour liquids into glassware, so like let's say I wanted to pour something I measured with a graduated cylinder into a beaker, okay? I want to put this on the surface of the desk. I don't want to hold it and go like this. I definitely don't want to have it above my goggles, okay? So I want to keep it on the table, and I want to keep it at least this far from the edge of the table, right? I don't want it to accidentally knock off. So you pour, all right, keep it on the surface, Okay. If you break something, let me know. Okay. I will clean it up. You don't clean it up. Okay. I will clean it up. And if we do have hot glassware, don't put it in water. Don't like, oh, I'm gonna cool this down real quick and quench it in the cold water. It'll just break. Okay, so don't do that. Again, anytime we're in the lab, you're gonna wear goggles. All right, we must protect our vision. Don't mix things unless I tell you to do so. All right, we're not back there, doing alchemy, just like, ooh, I wonder what happens. Yeah, that's not how this works. If you are mixing water and acid, something to remember, you always add acid. You never add the water. Okay, so like if there's acid in here, water in there, I'm going to add the acid to the water. I never do the other. Be aware when you add acid to water, it often involves heat, so that could get quite warm. So don't hold this, just sit it on the desk. Don't taste anything in the lab. I'm not going to tell you to taste anything all year, so don't eat stuff in the lab. If you do need to smell something, we're going to waft it. All right, so wafting looks like this. We just kind of pull the air towards our nose. We don't huff things. All right, we don't stick our nose down in there. Wonder what that smells like. That's a really good way to get a nosebleed, or depending on what it is, maybe even pass out. So we're not doing that. All right, we just waft. All right, and you're only going to really do that if I tell you to. So when we're doing an experiment, you see fumes coming off of something. Don't just be like, oh, I think I'll take a hit. Yeah, that's a bad move. Okay. So when you do smell stuff, we waft, but I'll give you a heads up when you need to do that. General rule again, follow instructions. Okay. When it comes to disposal of chemicals, don't just dump things down the sink. That's bad. I will tell you where to dispose of things if you can put them down the sink. If not, there'll be a labeled waste container. And again, you always want to wash your hands. Treat every chemical as if it will kill you, and you'll be safe. And that's literally the easiest thing to do. So it's like gun safety, right? Guns are always loaded. Chemicals are always dangerous. So if you use one, wash it. When we're heating things, I have one set of protective gloves. We won't handle anything that hot, but we do have beaker tongs, which are a pair of tongs with rubber on them that we can use to pick up beakers. If you're using a Bunsen burner, don't reach over the open flame to cut it off, or to get something, just have one of your lab partners cut it off, or pick up whatever you need to pick up. Don't reach over open flames. Okay. If you're heating a test tube, right, you want to point it away from other people, including yourself. Okay. And you never, ever heat a test tube that's sealed. So if there's a stopper in the end, you got to take the stopper out, because otherwise you'll heat it, it'll build up pressure, and then it'll shoot the end off. Or if it's really seated, like if the stopper is really seated in the test tube, it could actually explode the glass. If you are holding a test tube in a test tube holder, like pretend this is my flame, right? I want to move my test tube over the flame so it's heated. I just want to stick it in there and just heat this end of the test tube. That's not what we want to do. Okay. Don't heat wet glassware. It'll make steam otherwise. Okay. And if you are heating it, use the wire gauze. Don't hold it in your hand. Okay. It should be pretty obvious. If you do get a burn, if you just touch something that's hot, just, put your hand under cold water. Tell me, we'll assess if we need to do anything worse. If you have a cut or something like that, don't touch it. You could have chemicals on your hands. Don't be like, ooh. But I have a first aid kit. We'll, put pressure on it, stop the bleeding if it's bleeding. If something falls on you and you get a bruise and it's real bad, we can use a cold compress. But I've never had that happen, so let's not let it happen this year. Big issue is eyes. If you get something in your eyes because you have your safety goggles off, which you shouldn't, but if you did, you have to put your eyes in the water for, actually, this has been updated. It is now 20 minutes according to OSHA regulations. All right. If you get something in your eye, like let's say a glass was a shatter and you didn't have your safety goggles on and a piece of glass was in your eye, don't rub it. All right. Hold it open and be like, look, I got something in my eye. I'll help you. All right. Don't panic. Okay. We'll be okay. All right. So general lab safety, pretty self-explanatory stuff. Main thing, be responsible, follow directions, no horseplay, and we'll have a good time in the lab. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. All right, and we'll go from there.